Contrary to popular belief, my favorite hobby is not playing video games. It's actually buying video games that I won't have time to play. Game collecting is a pretty cool hobby. I'm happy to say I've been at it for a few years and have had a pretty good time with the games I've managed to get my hands on. Slight problem with it though, video games are expensive. See, I started collecting shortly before I entered what I consider my broke college student phase, meaning I couldn't buy nearly as many games as I wanted to. Now recently I have graduated from my broke college student phase. Now, I'm just broke. There's so many things I have to pay for now. Rent, groceries, alcohol, my gambling addiction, a VPN so I can actually get on Pornhub. Stupid North Carolina legislators. It's gotten so bad I've actually had to cut certain things out of my budget. I simply cannot afford to pay for inefficient and excessively priced services like my Adobe subscription or taxes. Video games though? That's where I have to draw the line. They make up way too much of my personality. But all those big retail giants, the ones you normally buy video games from, they know how cool video games are. And they're going to charge you ridiculous amounts of money for the privilege of even breathing the same air as Princess Peach Showtime. That's why I'm on a quest to find video games at a consistently affordable price without waiting 3 to 5 days for shipping. And I'm not going to find those deals at a store that actually wants to sell you games. No. I have to go game shopping at a store that doesn't know the value of what they're selling. I have to go game shopping at non-game shops. Our first target is the local Staples, former seller of office supplies and current doer of whatever the hell they feel like apparently. TSA pre-check, UPS shipping, Amazon returns, yeah, because Kohl's didn't have enough competition. And wouldn't you know it, they started selling video games a couple years ago. Well, hot damn, sounds like it's time for a trip to the local Staples. Let the deals commence. Well, this is a bust. Not only does the selection suck, but the only games they have are from Nintendo, a company whose games almost never go on sale. These are games I could get literally anywhere. There's absolutely no advantage to game shopping at Staples unless you happen to get a sudden hankering for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe while in the middle of paying $37 for an HDMI cable. This is not what I had in mind when I said they don't know the value of what they're selling. This is definitely not in the budget, though maybe I can strike up a deal with one of the associates.
Hey, how can I help you today?
Oh, hey, I was hoping to get a copy of Mario Kart 8.
All right, it's gonna be $59.99.
Oh, yeah, so I was actually hoping to get it for a little bit cheaper.
Like how much cheaper?
Like I've only got $4 in my wallet right now, so I was kind of hoping to get it for like that price. Well, I'm now permanently banned from my local Staples. Whatever. That company's going to be out of business in another 2 years anyways. I need a more long-term and budget-friendly solution. What about a well-established business that's known for selling things on the cheap and may or may not be perpetuating the economic collapse of lower-income areas? I can't think of many southern towns I've been to that don't have at least one Dollar General. It's a true staple of the southern landscape, and, as it turns out, a shockingly profitable business. They sell just about everything, and at mostly affordable prices, so surely they're bound to have some good deals on video games. Let's check out one near me, and yep, this is definitely a Dollar General, sticky floors and all. We've got a game controller shaped balloon, that's something. Oh, gaming gift cards, we're definitely on the right track. Aha, a multimedia shelf. We've got a few DVDs and Blu-rays here, but no games unfortunately. We do have this gaming headset, though I think I'll pass for now. Maybe I'll have more luck in the next town over. They have a much larger multimedia shelf, but after parsing through it for a bit, I still couldn't find any games mixed in. Okay, one more Dollar General. Surely third time's the charm. And once again, we've hit absolutely nothing. The closest thing I found was the DVD for Resident Evil The Final Chapter, right next to Cats and Dogs 3, where it belongs. Nothing even remotely resembling games here, unless you count these cheap licensed kids' toys that look like they'd snap in half if you so much as looked at them the wrong way. Speaking of cheap garbage, those aren't the only dollar stores in my area. We also have a pop shelf store in town, otherwise known by its alter ego Dolgan Corp, which totally sounds like something I should be giving my money to. Their shtick is that they're a dollar store for decorative, seasonal, or otherwise trendy items, and video games are certainly trendy, so perhaps I'll have some luck there. Well, it's certainly cleaner and a lot more modern than your average dollar store, but in terms of finding games here, there's Digimon and this Five Nights at Freddy's thing, but no games. Like that first Dollar General though, they did have this shelf of random gaming accessories, and will someone please tell me how this mobile gamepad is supposed to work? Maybe I'll have better luck at Five Below. It's a similar concept, but targeted at teens and tweens, so surely they'll have at least a few video games for sale. Checking out the toys they have here, and ooh, a retro controller game system, i.e. an LCD handheld. 23 games, yeah, except 16 of them are block builder. I guess this halfway counts, but it's not exactly what I had in mind. I imagine if there's any place in the store games would be, it's the 5 Beyond tech section, and yeah, there's certainly stuff here. Headsets, keyboards, this random PS5 stand I swear I've seen on Temu before, and yet, still no games. I did find this headset though, rated G for gamers, huh? Featuring high quality sound and adjustability. And they're only $555. Surely it's impossible to pass up on this deal.
To all the kids watching this, I just did a thing called sarcasm. It's actually very easy to pass up on that deal.
But I've been to over half a dozen different stores at this point. I can't be leaving all of them empty-handed. Let's just go ahead and try these bad boys out. I mean, the box says high quality sound, and they've got all the specs listed on the back, so who knows? Maybe they're actually pretty good. Nope, they sound like AIDS. Well, looks like I'm SOL when it comes to new video games. With the exception of Pop Shelf, I know for a fact that all of these retailers have sold video games somewhere at some point. Just doesn't look like they do in my area, which is kind of lame. However, that's just for new games. What about pre-owned video games? Well, that's a totally different story. See, most retailers aren't exactly keen on selling pre-owned items of any kind, so if we want deals on pre-owned games, we're primarily limited to independent sellers and specialty stores. Now, when it comes to pricier pre-owned items, pawn shops are probably the go-to type of specialty store, and over the years, games and game consoles have become a pretty frequent sight there. I've had older collectors tell me how pawn shops used to be great for building up your collection, a place where you could easily pick up quality titles without breaking the bank, so hopefully one of the stores in my area will have something good. I know of a couple chains with locations near me. First up is Picasso Pawn. They had quite a few games and consoles for sale, mostly newer stuff, though they did have a couple of random retro games like Pokemon Gold and Sonic 2 for the Genesis. Most prices were difficult to see, though this copy of Spider-Man 2 was priced at $25, which is shockingly good, though pretty much everything else was either at or above market value. Better than GameStop prices, but I still passed on everything they had to offer. The other major chain near me is National Pawn, and their prices are equally all over the place, or so I would assume. Most of the games I saw straight up didn't have prices on them, and for the few that did have prices, they were at or above market value. The main thing that caught my eye was this bundle of 15 PlayStation games priced at $150. I don't know what this top game is, but as far as I can tell, the rest of these are only worth about $130 at best, so it's probably pretty questionable as to whether this bundle is worth it. This place seemed more interested in selling consoles anyways, so I passed on what they had to offer here as well. So it seems like the pawn shops in my area deal primarily in more modern games and consoles. Prices might not have been exorbitant, but that doesn't stop pawn shops from feeling like they're just trying to wring as much money out of you as possible. Having a lot of games marked as price negotiable is a bit of a red flag for me. It just gives off major I know what I have kind of vibes. With pawn shops, no matter where you go and what you try to get, at the end of the day, you're more than likely going to end up haggling with a professional salesman, and that's rarely any fun. If we want to find endless gaming deals, we're going to have to look for a less professional seller. Now, if you want a seller who 90% of the time has no idea what they're doing, look no further than a yard sale. The clearing out of a household's unwanted items, which may or may not include old games and consoles. Granted, you are essentially going to a random person's house and looking through their junk, so the likelihood of you finding anything good is pretty slim. However, some of the most legendary stories of massive gaming deals happen at yard sales. People finding these huge lots of rare and valuable games for literal pennies. There's no way I could not look into that. So, let's see what yard sales are happening in my area. Alright, went to some yard sales, did some looking around. Now I got this massive bag of stuff with me. So, let's see what I got. This was $5. Yeah, I didn't really have any luck as far as yard sales are concerned. A few had random gaming accessories, and I even found a power supply unit for PCs, but no games, unfortunately. You know, as much as I love going to yard sales, I simply can't afford to spend all day driving around to different houses hoping I find something good. I just don't have time for it. Fortunately, that is where the beauty of the flea market comes in. It's like going to a bunch of different yard sales, except now the sketchiness is all gathered together in one place. The biggest flea market in my area is the Raleigh Market, located at the North Carolina State Fairgrounds. In fact, it's the largest flea market in the state of North Carolina, so it's more likely than most to have some games for sale. Most vendors are set up as you would expect, out of trucks and underneath tents and whatnot. There were a couple places that had games mixed in with DVDs like this, and I managed to get the Show 10 for $2. That's fine, I guess, but you can find outdated sports games in any old bargain bin. Nah, the real games are inside with the permanent vendors. This place had quite a few retro games for sale, which is pretty cool. Definitely one to keep in mind for when I start collecting retro stuff. Though $650 for this complete in-box Nintendo 64 is a bit on the steep side. Now this was the main vendor I saw for video games, and all things considered, they had a decent selection. Checking out the games, we've got Mass Effect for $10, Connect Rush, $15, Prince of Persia, also $10. Yeah, most of the games on these shelves are listed at $10 each, a vast majority of which are absolutely not worth it. I did buy a few games here, but I ultimately paid $35 for $27 worth of games. Not exactly a steal. They did have more games locked in their glass cases, by which I mean games people actually care about, but considering they were asking $10 for Wii Fit, frankly, I was kind of scared to ask what they wanted for a real game. So based on my experiences with the Raleigh market, it seems like you typically have two different options when it comes to game shopping at flea markets. You can either go to the vendor that has a ton of different games and pay game store prices, or you can hope to find a game shuffled in with someone's DVDs. Either waste money or waste your time. Either way, not ideal. So yard sales and flea markets kind of fall into the same category for me. On one hand, they can be great for picking up games on the cheap. On the other hand, whether or not you'll be able to find games, let alone anything of value, that's usually a toss-up. Personally though, I think another major problem with them is the hours. The Raleigh market is a nice exception, but the fact is that most flea markets and yard sales don't exactly stick to a regular schedule. So what if that was a brick and mortar store that was like a yard sale, but with regular business hours? It's Goodwill. I'm talking about Goodwill. I love me a good thrift store, and out of all thrift chains here in the States, it is Goodwill alone that reigns supreme. With over 4,000 locations, there's bound to be one near you, and that means an ever-present opportunity for video games to be acquired. Now, Goodwill's inventory and pricing policies are not consistent across the entire company. In the case of video games, it's typically up to each regional Goodwill headquarters to determine what they want to price games at, or if they want to carry games at all. Fortunately, I've lucked out. I live smack dab in the middle of the territory operated by Goodwill Industries of Eastern North Carolina, and not only do they sell video games, but their pricing policies are largely consistent with that of DVDs. In other words, 99 cents a pop. Alright, Goodwill number 1. Let's see what we have here. Well, there's a Sims 3 expansion pack for PC, and that's it? Am I too late? Have all the good games been snatched? Was I too slow in discovering this ludicrously good deal? Let's try Goodwill number 2, and oh, thank bejesus, I was beginning to lose hope. We have actual video games. As long as you count Glee Karaoke Revolution Volume 3 as video games. Wait, Sneak King? That's actually kind of sick. We have a genuinely interesting game for sale. Oh wait, the disc has already been yoinked. That blows. Another Sims 3 expansion pack. I'm pretty sure all Goodwills are legally obligated to have at least one on standby. Connected Ventures, also case only. Someone really went out of their way to shoplift Connected Ventures, huh? And some sports games, to the surprise of absolutely no one. I ended up buying a few of the sports games. I was going to get the Connected Ventures case, since my copy is still in this cardboard sleeve, but for some reason the cashier wanted $4 for it. No thank you. Goodwill number 3. Hey, some PS2 games. They're all complete in box too, which is nice to see. I don't have a PS2 yet, so I passed on these, though 99 cents for 2K11 might be the best deal I've seen so far. Can't believe I just said that. Yeah, so in terms of price, Goodwill absolutely gave me what I was looking for. I picked up 3 different sports games, and all it cost me was 99 cents per, and one random customer approaching me to ask if I'd ever done drugs before. The selection, though? It was pretty consistent with what I found at the flea market. Most games I found were just bargain bin nonsense, and that's if you find any games at all. Not gonna lie, things are starting to look bleak. How about some other thrift stores? I'm getting kind of desperate for something at this point. Guardian Angel is another chain of thrift stores near me, and each one is usually a pretty sizable operation. No luck in terms of games though. I didn't even see a shelf for DVDs, which is pretty weird all things considered. How about a smaller thrift shop? They'd probably be likely to sell whatever they can get their hands on. They do have a DVD shelf, and even a bit of vinyl, but no games mixed in. One more thrift store before I call it quits, and guys, this place was actually really cool. This was a pretty massive store with all sorts of stuff for sale. Furniture, speakers, typewriters, musical instruments, and they even had some video games. The same few video games I've seen literally everywhere else. Alright, this is ridiculous. I've been to over a dozen different places at this point, and of the few that actually sold video games, they're either overpriced or the same few games I've seen in literally every bargain bin out there. None of these places have offered me interesting games at a price I'm happy to pay. I'm starting to run out of options, so I think it's time I break out my ace in the hole. This is the Cheshire Cat Gallery, a sizable collective of various antique and thrift vendors located here in downtown Raleigh. They've got a bit of everything here: furniture, decor, books, vinyl, clothing, and, lo and behold, even some video games. Well, they've certainly got a decent selection. I don't think you'll find Atari and Genesis games in your average bargain bin, but does it pass the price test? Oh my god, it does. Need for Speed Underground for $7? Yes, please. This copy of Sonic Generations that was clearly a rental at some point. Not sure what that's worth, but hey, it's more interesting than anything I found at Goodwill. Midway Arcade Treasures, I'll take that too. And to everyone who got mad at me for not talking about MechAssault in that one video, well, I've got news for you. I picked out just a few of the cheaper games, but there was definitely a lot of interesting stuff to come back to. Granted, not all of these prices were winners, but at least most things were priced at or below their estimated value. All in all, I walked away with about $45 worth of games for $26 plus tax. Now that's what I'm talking about. Oh god, there's more. Well, it took a while, but I did it. I finally found a store where gamers can get semi-consistent deals on good video games. Who am I kidding? The only decent deals I found were at Cheshire Cat, which is really only accessible to residents of the Raleigh area, and at Goodwill, whose pricing and policies fluctuate so dramatically across the entire company that they're barely even worth bringing up. I was really hoping to find a store that's accessible to everyone, where you could have an easy time getting quality entertainment of the gaming variety for well below market value. Obviously, that wasn't likely to happen, but you know what? I think I'm okay with that. I think it's undeniable that the best gaming deals rarely happen at game stores. You think the guy whose whole life revolves around knowing the value of Clay Fighter's Sculptor's Cut is just going to let you have that game for $10? Good luck with that. It's always places like yard sales and flea markets that you hear about the most legendary of hauls. It's why I associate non-game shops with the best gaming deals. Of course, those deals aren't going to be easy to find, else they wouldn't be as storied as they are. But it's that slim prospect that keeps you coming back, that allows you to keep your hopes up even when you really shouldn't be. Still, the value of game shopping at these kinds of places extends far beyond the slim prospects of finding some mythical deal on games. Personally, I feel like there's something sort of magical about finding a game in an environment that it's clearly not supposed to be in. That little rush that comes with spotting a game when you least expect it, that's what I imagine heroin feels like. It doesn't happen too often, this video's a testament to that, but it doesn't make hunting for games off the beaten path any less enjoyable. And when you do find that one game hidden in a stack of DVDs somewhere, well, it doesn't really matter what the game is. It's always a pleasant surprise. When someone asks you as a collector what your greatest gaming deals are, you've probably got a few memories that immediately jump to the top of your mind, and I'm willing to bet some of them didn't happen at game stores. I know that's the case for me. Those are some of your defining moments as a collector. Of course, we all want to have more moments like that, but at the end of the day, we're all forced to accept that it really is the rarity of those moments that makes them so special. Is what I would say if I hadn't just realized that Office Depot is also selling video games. Looks like my deal hunting dreams are still alive. I'm now banned from Office Depot.